President Bola Tinubu's free emergency Federal government inaugurates Board of Directors of National Credit Guarantee Company Limited, hubs of deepening financial inclusion. NADDC hubs on end-of-life vehicle recycling prospects and supply chain in Nigeria, sensitizing stakeholders in synergy. National Social Cohesion Dialogue unveils 2025 Nigeria Social Cohesion Survey report, puts Nigeria's Social Cohesion Index at 46.8%. Hello and welcome to the news at 11 on NTA News 24, reaching you live from the nation's capital, Abuja. I am Comfort Fashim. The federal government has inaugurated the Board of Directors of the National Credit Guarantee Company Limited, charging members to deepen financial inclusion and stimulate Nigeria's grassroots economy. Vice President Kashim Shettima at the inauguration ceremony held at the Presidential Villa says the establishment of NCGC represents the government's commitment to bridging the financing gap that has long plagued MSMEs across the country. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
The new institution is designed to serve as a financial backbone for micro, small and medium enterprises struggling with access to affordable credit. President Bola Tinubu had on May 29, 2025 announced the establishment of the company, approving the appointment of its board and management team led by the former Speaker House of Representatives, Yakubu Dogara.
On behalf of His Excellency, President Bola Ahmed Tinubu, GCFR, and the Federal Government of Nigeria, I hereby declare the Board of Directors of the National Credit Guarantee Company Limited duly inaugurated.
While inaugurating the board, Vice President Kashim Shettima described the NCGC as a critical engine in the pursuit of economic inclusion and sustainable growth.
What has brought us together, the establishment of the National Credit Guarantee Company Limited, It's a response to a stubborn challenge that has stifled our economic potential for decades, and that has to do with access to finance. NCGC is that bridge. It is the assurance that when a farmer in Ibadan needs a loan to expand her cocoa palm, when a tech startup in Abuja needs working capital to scale, when a leather artisan in Kano seeks to mechanize his craft, and when a trader in Onitsha needs capital to expand, the system will no longer fail them.
Urging the members to combine prudence with courage, accountability with ambition, as they translate national policy into impact.
And it will interest all of us to know that in a highly charged political environment, where high-stake distributional issues are involved, and it is a very competitive space, there has been no much outcry relating to the establishment of this company or the constitution of the board itself. So that therefore tells us that there's expectation out there for us to meet, and we understand clearly on the side of the board that this is critical and a core initiative meant driving the economic policies that will deliver the renewed hope agenda, and we're committed to that.
Every young person operating in the MSME segment, a local manufacturer, or a credit consumer that requires financing, the National Credit Guarantee Company is ready to provide that support that will bridge the gap.
The establishment of the NCGC, the chairman said, is an attempt to give vent to Nigeria's democracy to deliver on its promise, as the promise of democracy is life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness that must deliver not just political and individual rights, but economic opportunities. From the State House, Abraham Jibrila, NTA News.
Vice President Kashim Shettima says the administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu has repositioned cassava production to ensure the crop becomes a key driver of industrial development and import substitution in Nigeria. At a ceremony in Abuja to mark the 2025 World Cassava Day, the Vice President noted that cassava, which for long symbolized food security for the vulnerable, can also signify prosperity for the ambitious. State House correspondent Abdurrahman Jibrila reports.
World Cassava Day 2025, celebrated for the first time in Nigeria at the Presidential Villa, with stakeholders coming together to promote, reflect, reimagine, and reignite the global conversation around cassava.
Our focus is to reposition cassava as a strategic raw material, one that powers our industry, substitutes imports, creates jobs, and strengthens local supply chain, as well as drive socio-economic transformation of our communities.
We have invested over $200 million in investments locally in the last 5 years, and we plan to do more over the next few years. As an Ekiti State government, we have actually committed $150 million to smallholder farmers to help encourage the farming of cassava at the US Africa Summit last year, which took place in Dallas.
Farm to global markets, driving industrialization, food security and exports is the theme for the World Cassava Day, with discussions on scaling financial access for inclusive industrialization and strengthening linkages from farms to global markets.
Today, we are translating our commitments into concrete actions. Africa's agricultural exports to China enjoy expanding grain channels, while Nigeria's local processing capacity demonstrates steady growth. Recently, China announced that it will grant zero tariff treatment on 100% of taxable items to 53 African countries that have established diplomatic relations with China, including Nigeria.
Cassava has long symbolized food security for the vulnerable. It is also time that it symbolizes prosperity for the ambitious. Let this day mark the beginning of a new era where cassava is not merely grown, but transformed, where our fields are not only bountiful, but profitable, where Nigeria leads, not just in tons harvested, but in values created. As we commemorate the World Cassava Day 2025, let us commit ourselves to action. Let us move beyond plans and press releases. Let us deliver outcomes that transform lives and rebuild rural economies.
This is another milestone to the Nigeria's agricultural sector and an opportunity to re-engineer economy, strengthen rural livelihoods, and ensure national food and energy security. From the State House, Brahman Jibrila, NTA News.
Nigeria's First Lady, Oluremi Tinubu, has donated 1 billion naira towards improving lives of vulnerable groups in Plateau State. This is in addition to the presentation of food items to 1,800 households. Ndeya Adeabagyang reports that the presentations were made in Jos during her official visit to the state.
The Renewed Hope Initiative has since 2024 launched various empowerment support schemes towards impacting the lives of vulnerable groups, especially women and those living with disabilities. One of such is the Food Outreach Scheme, a major component of human survival. So far, 13 states have been covered. Beneficiaries of the program in Plateau State were emotional as the wife of the Vice President, Nana Shatima, handed over food items to the wife of the Plateau State Governor for onward distribution to the beneficiaries.
The show of love we appreciate. During times like this, she has showed she's indeed a mother.
I'm feeling very happy for this rise.
Nigeria's First Lady, Senator Oluremi Tinubu, while calling for an end to the incessant killings in parts of the state, donated 1 billion naira to support internally displaced persons.
I want to come to Plateau to enjoy the tourism. Let our children enjoy this. That's why I came to just appeal to you. Whatever it takes, bring peace to this land. It's a great land.
One thing I'd like to assure you that by the grace of God, that the 3 decades of crisis and violence on the plateau, that by the grace of God, it must come to an end.
Other stakeholders lauded the benevolence of the First Lady and appealed for sustained efforts at tackling security challenges in parts of the state. In Jos, Ndenyan and Adeabagyang, NTA News.
And in Gombe State, a wave of relief is sweeping through communities as President Bola Tinubu's free emergency medical initiative continues to save lives and restore hope. Zara Umar Adamu reports that the initiative driving the life-saving transformation is a national emergency medical services and ambulance system, which has become a lifeline for countless citizens in Gombe State.
Emergency health care too often meant delay, despair, and devastating cost. Thanks to the powerful transformation of President Tinubu's initiative for changing the narrative of saving lives and restoring faith in the public health system. Under the National Emergency Medical Service and Ambulance System, NEMSAS, Nigerians are entitled to 48 hours of free emergency services.
Here at the Gombe State Teaching Hospital, the impact of the newly launched NEMSAS initiative is already being felt. The hospital has become a hub of hope as patients in emergency conditions receive prompt and professional care without the burden of immediate medical bills.
Within the last 6 months, around 5,000 citizens of Gombe and the neighboring states have benefited from this program.
We are very appreciative to President Tinubu for taking the burden of medical care off our shoulder.
Thank you so much, Mr. President, for this thing that you have been making for us.
It is another success story at Gombe State Specialist Hospital.
A lot of things have been made available, like in the accident and emergency here. Apart from the minor theaters where we attend to the road traffic accident, we have a fully stocked pharmacy. And of course, we have doctors, casualty officers, and the nurses who are always here morning, afternoon, and night. So the services are run for 24 hours.
Gombe State experience shows that when emergency healthcare services are available and accessible, lives are not just saved, but they are transformed. Zara Umar Adam, NTA News.
The foundation of every child's upbringing holds the power to shape the future of societies. At a time when conversations around the rights of women and the girl child are gaining unrelenting momentum, one Nigerian institution is stepping forward to lead the charge. Ayodeji Makinde explores how Veritas University, standing firm at the crossroad, is championing a movement that echoes the voice and vision of one of Africa's most iconic storytellers.
Faces in a formative period, and in contrast, another group at a threshold of being made or otherwise. One of the many things needed is inspiration. Talk about that, and leading where it matters is internationally recognized writer Chimamanda Ngozi Adichie, who is back in motherland to lift spirits to a higher level.
The globalization we want to compete in is something we have to be actively ready for today.
At 47 years, she is not just a mother, but a mentor who is a reference point with native, academic, emotional intelligence and philosophical perspectives. Mingling with the authority and students at Veritas, Nigeria's National Catholic University in Buari, Abuja, Chimamanda, daughter of a university don and administrator, brings her indigenous background, international exposure to bear on literature, the rights of the girl child, feminism and issues on the pathway to womanhood.
Women, men, we all dream. And sometimes we put our dreams in our pockets because we don't think that they will come true. We have somehow cheated ourselves. So we've used half of the intelligence that God gave to us as human beings by excluding women. And so it's time, and this is why I say that feminism in the end is a justice movement.
Now she is a global icon. That also tells us young people that if you pursue your ambition with focus, you can get there.
Poses, autographs, connection with Gen Zs with a task on these younger ones to embrace gender equality, protect and respect every lady and woman. With her, the global drive for gender equality is incomplete without our dear women. He for she, and she for he. In Abuja, Ayodeji Makinde, NTA News.
Stay with the news on NTA News 24 while we take a break. Identifying through accurate data analysis the social, political and economic complexities that pose challenges to sustained national unity formed the core of deliberations at the National Social Cohesion Dialogue and unveiling of the 2025 Nigeria Social Cohesion Survey report. The report, compiled by the Africa Polling Institute's API, puts Nigeria's Social Cohesion Index, NSCI, at 46.8%. Dennis Adegunloye reports.
This Nigeria Social Cohesion Index report presents the results and findings on 14 key indicators, including identity, trust, social justice and equity, civic participation, tolerance, gender equity, disability and inclusion, and impunity, among others. All indicators were researched in the context of crucial national matters that relate to building social unity. It was generally agreed that trust in governments and public institutions are the foundation upon which a successful democracy operates, And the greater this is, the more likely the masses will participate in the democratic process, comply with laws, and have a positive perception of public institutions. These findings by the Africa Polling Institute indicate that in recent years, while there has been a 7.2% improvement on the 2022 NSCI of 39.6%, the current assessment of 46.8% falls just short of the average. With the theme focusing on further enhancing citizens' trust and confidence in government and public institutions, this dialogue seeks to raise this figure past the global average of 50%.
These are issues that, stimulate the sort of data we are receiving from the field. And so how will it help? It helps government to know the exact situation, the exact finding.
We should look at the bright side that we have 47% social cohesion index in Nigeria. Not great, but we can move forward.
If we start being very intentional that every Nigerian citizen should be treated first as citizen, whether male, female, whether young or old, whether religious or not.
We need to really go back to education, review our curriculum, start with history, and start telling the children, irrespective of where you come from, citizen being first before even tribe or maybe issues around the regional part of the country where someone came from.
The buck stops on the table of citizens to look around to make sure that those things that bring us together are things we need to deliberately grow and foster.
This current survey, funded by the Ford Foundation, marks the fourth round of the Nigeria Social Cohesion Survey and the third report on the National Index of Social Cohesion. In Abuja, Dennis Adegunloye, NTA News.
The National Automotive Design and Development Council, NADDC, says Nigeria possesses all the necessary resources to become a major hub for managing scrap metals from end-of-life vehicles, and will be leveraging these in diversifying the Nigerian economy. This is coming at the Council's sensitization and advocacy engagements with stakeholders on end-of-life vehicle regulations. Tokpe Alabi reports.
The automobile industry has the most recycled products with global market value of over $60 billion annually and over 80% of materials recovered from end-of-life vehicles, serving as feedstock for manufacturing new vehicles and as inputs for other industries. The National Automotive Design and Development Council, NADDC, had in March launched the approved End-of-Life Vehicle (ELV) recycling and regulation, marking a major milestone in Nigeria's quest for a sustainable and environmentally responsible automotive industry. This sensitization and advocacy program by NADDC is to guide stakeholders to embrace the end-of-life vehicle recycling and regulation in Nigeria, a federal government initiative, and to play their roles going by Nigeria's projection to be the third most populous country by 2050 with over 400 million population, and the country's large market size and cheap labor makes it a destination for end-to-life vehicles recycling business.
This is a multi-stakeholder enterprise. Success will therefore depend on synergy of purpose.
It's going to generate jobs. We just mentioned it's had the capacity of generating as much as 40,000 jobs. Let's embrace this. Let's look at the positive side of it. Let's look at what it's going to do to our economy.
And we have attended the regulatory stakeholder engagement that took place. And based on those stakeholder engagements, we got good feedback. So we are confident that this is a good regulation.
I hope that there will be right policies for it, and there will be management commitment in it, and all sectors will put their hands on deck.
We have a lot of ELVs around the country that sometimes they even cause a whole lot of hold up. And then with this initiative, job creation comes up.
We are trained for that, and we have been trained for the past 2 years concerning this program, so that you will not meet us on our way.
The end-of-life vehicle regulation is beyond waste management. It is about creating a circular economy, generating employment and fostering technological innovation. In Abuja, Tokpe Alabi, NTA News.
The governing All Progressives Congress, APC, says the new platform of African Democratic Congress adopted by opposition leaders should concentrate on dealing with their differences rather than attacking the purposeful administration of President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. In a statement signed by its National Publicity Secretary of the party, Felix Moka, adds that the crop of persons that constitutes the platform are self-service inclined and desperate and do not have the interests of the nation at heart. The statement also refutes some of the allegations raised in the speech of its national chairman and former president of the Senate, David Mark. Goku Progressives Initiative, Dr. Gini Kato, has thrown weight behind President Bola Ahmed Tinubu beyond 2027, saying the renewed hope agenda has justified his administration's intention to serve and leave Nigeria better than it met it. She was speaking immediately after a support rally to the party's national secretary, where supporters in their numbers commended the president and promised to rally round votes behind him come 2027. The immediate past Federal Commissioner, Federal Character Commission, representing Enugu State, appealed to the president to consider the political group for appointing owning to its solidarity and service to the party in 2023 general elections.
GCFR and his administration. We believe in his vision for Nigeria and remain committed to his leadership. However, we humbly appeal to him to look into our matter and ensure justice, equity, and fairness.
President Tinubu mourns the passing of ex-Super Eagles keeper Peter Rufai. President Bola Ahmed Tinubu expresses great sadness at the passing of legendary Super Eagles goalkeeper Peter Rufai, who was 61. The president, in a release by his special advisor on information and strategy, Bayo Ononuga, condoles with the Rufai family, friends and football enthusiasts on the demise of the inimitable goalkeeper fondly called Dodo Mayana by his numerous fans and football lovers all over Nigeria. President Tinubu notes that Peter Rufai would be remembered as one of those patriotic sportsmen who wrote their names in gold in the sporting annals of Nigeria and the African continent. The president recalled with fond memories the heroic contributions of Peter Rufai in the historic victory of the Super Eagles at the 1994 edition of the Africa Cup of Nations in Tunisia as the first-choice goalkeeper, followed up with Nigeria's equally epoch-making first appearance at the FIFA World Cup competition, dubbed USA 94, and the subsequent edition of the competition in France in 1998. Rufai started his career with stationery stores of Lagos in 1980 and was one of the earliest footballers in Nigeria to go professional, playing in many European countries, including Belgium, Spain, Portugal, and the Netherlands, bringing honor to the nation and opening a new window of opportunities for young footballers in Nigeria. President Tinubu says after he retired from active football, Peter, a prince of the royal house in Idumu, Lagos, set up the Star of Football Academy, where he continued to inspire, mentor, and nurture young footballers. President Tinubu prays for comfort for all who mourn Rufai's loss and for the repose of Rufai's soul. And that concludes the news at 11 on NTA News 24. Thanks for watching. I am Comfort Fashim.